whoever wrote Hebrews change what it says in Jeremiah 31. It says, I was a husband, changed to I rejected you. How do you play with the Bible? Are you insane?
So welcome back to the show, Rabbi Singer.
Well, great to be back, Jacob. Thank you.
Christians believe that the Jewish Messiah, who they assume is the same person as Jesus Christ, will override the old covenant and replace it with a new one. Does the Jewish text ever describe the Jewish Messiah as bringing a new covenant when he comes?
Okay, that's very interesting. So let's start right from the get-go. What Christians and Jews share in common is that word Messiah, but we mean something completely different. They have nothing in common. The Hebrew Bible described the Messiah in passages like Isaiah chapter 2, verse 4, that he'll rebuke many nations. He will judge among the peoples. That's what Mashiach is. The Messiah is an heir to the throne of David. In Christianity, he's a person running around doing miracles and then dying for everyone's sins and then rising on the third day. And if you believe in that dying and rising God figure, then you're saved. And if not, you're damned to hell. There's nothing remotely resembling any of that in the Hebrew Bible. It's quite the contrary. Human sacrifice is condemned repeatedly throughout the Hebrew Scriptures. Now, let's talk about the covenant part. So Christians believe, and they've been taught this since they're children, that their beliefs are the fulfillment of the Hebrew Bible. Why? Because the Christian Bible says so. Where? Luke 24, 44 through 46. Well, the author of the third gospel has the audacity to claim that if you just look in the Torah, the prophets, and the Psalms, which means the writings, you will find a prophecy of the Messiah dying and rising on the third day. I'm going to assume that whoever wrote the book of Luke got that from an earlier book, from 1 Corinthians chapter 15. This kind of prophecy is found nowhere in the Hebrew Bible. If we're in the Hebrew Bible, every Jew would be a Christian. We'd all be in church right now. There's nothing remotely resembling it. In fact, when Paul says that Jesus rose on the third day according to the Scripture, there is no Scripture. There's no Scripture like it. Okay. New covenant. So Christians use the term new covenant based on passages in the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 8, 9, all the way through verse 13. That's how the chapter ends. The book of Hebrews is an epistle written in the mid-60s, probably 64, as an argument against Judaism. It's 13 chapters of an attack, an assault on the Jewish faith. Jesus above the angels, above Moses, Joshua. He's a priest according to the order of Melchizedek. He is our Sabbath, Hebrews 4. The whole point of Hebrews is that Christianity, not a term in vogue at the time, but Christianity replaces Judaism. He violently misquotes the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah talks about a new covenant in Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 30, 31, depending if you use a Jewish or Christian Bible. Jeremiah is describing a time when in the Messianic age, God will renew a promise. The word covenant doesn't mean a Torah, doesn't mean a law, doesn't mean any of that. The word covenant means exactly what you think it means. It means a promise. That's it. It doesn't say I'll make a new Torah, a new commandments. No. Jeremiah is telling us that days are coming, saith the Lord, that I'll make a new covenant with Yehuda, Israel. That means a restored people, the northern and southern kingdom. And it's not going to be like the old covenant. The old covenant is the covenant when the Jews were taken out of Egypt, brought to the land of Israel. It's not according to that, because not that I did anything wrong, God is saying, but you betrayed me. You broke that covenant, meaning you weren't loyal to God, and therefore you were exiled. V'anoichi ba'alti bum, the passage says, although I was a husband to you. So I was like your lover. Like, why did you do that to me? V'anoichi ba'alti bum. This is going to be very, very important. Because as it turns out, the Christian Bible has to replace this. They not only have to replace the covenant, but they have to replace the actual words itself. If you go to the book of Hebrews, Hebrews chapter 8 utterly changes this. I want you to go to Hebrews chapter 8, verse 9. You won't even believe what you're about to read. In Hebrews 8 says, it's quoting Jeremiah 31. He says, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, house of Judah, not like the old covenant I made on the day when I took them out of the land of Egypt, for they did not continue in my covenant, and I rejected them. I'm not kidding. Take Hebrews chapter 8, verse 9, compare it to Jeremiah 30 and 31, verse 30, 31, depending on which kind of Bible you're using, and just put them side by side. You could do it with two browsers. Just put them side by side. In the Hebrew Bible, it's going to say, although I was a husband to you, I was Baalti. And that term that I was your husband is used earlier in Jeremiah as God's relationship with the children of Israel. So the author of Hebrews, whoever it wasn't Paul, but it was someone who followed Pauline thinking, remove the words, I was a husband to you, and replace them, I rejected you. So there you have the real replacement. And then it gets crazier. And if you're not sure that my hermeneutic, my reading of this text is that God is done with the Jewish covenant, with the covenant with the Jew, if you're not sure that I'm accurately characterizing what Hebrews is saying, go to the last verse of the entire chapter, verse 13. For when he said a new covenant, what did he do? He made the first one obsolete. When Hebrews 8:13 is saying that, he's referring to the old covenant based on the law. He's talking about Israel. That's why they call it the Old Testament. Same word, testament, covenant. Not kidding. And whatever is becoming obsolete and growing old disappears. And you have to ask the question, whoever wrote Hebrews changed what it says in Jeremiah 31. It says, I was a husband, changed to I rejected you. How do you play with the Bible? Are you insane? So Jeremiah is telling us, here's what Jeremiah, the message. What is the covenant? The covenant is a promise. It means I'm bringing you back. You're going to be restored back to the land of Israel. Never to be rejected again, never to be thrown out again. See Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11, 12, 13. That's the whole end of Isaiah chapter 11. The whole end of Isaiah chapter 11 is all about the restoring of the children of Israel back to the land of Israel. And the northern tribe will work together with the southern tribe, and Judah and Ephraim will be together, will act in unison. That's how Isaiah 11 should make your head spin, because that's an ecstatic messianic chapter. I just released a video on that on YouTube very, very recently at a lecture I gave in Jerusalem. So Jeremiah is saying, look, you were thrown out of the land of Israel because you broke the covenant, and something I told you is going to happen to you. Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28. But you're going to come back again. You're going to be restored back to the land of Israel. And please go back to Jeremiah 31. In those days, verse 33, in those days, if you want to be sure this is not talking about anything that happened in the time of Christianity, in those days no one is going to have to teach his neighbor about God, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. Well, that didn't happen in the time of Jesus, did it? So if Jesus ushered in a new covenant, then none of this was fulfilled. The text says that this will be a time where everyone will know about God. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 14. Isaiah chapter 11, verse 9. Right there. The whole point of Zechariah 14:9 is that everybody knows it. That's the whole point. So in this period, in this epoch, everyone will know about God. And then the text continues, and it says, so said the Lord, who created the sun to illuminate the day, the moon, the stars, the night. If these laws will pass before me, if the very foundations of the earth can be measured, So too will I cast off the children of Israel, the seed of Jacob, from being a nation, which means the Bible is saying nothing could ever happen to the Jews. They're going to go through all kinds of stuff, but they're going to be restored back to the land. Jeremiah 30, verse 3. I mean, your head should be spinning because it's the same messianic text. Jeremiah 33, the Jews are going to return back to the land of Israel again at the end of the days. Jeremiah 37, Jacob's trouble. This is very rich, famous stuff. I mean, this is like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. So the covenant is a promise, has nothing to do with the Torah. Nothing. Christians think it does, not because they're bad people. This is what they're taught every Sunday, that we're under a new covenant, and the word covenant for the Christian just takes on a meaning that has nothing to do with the Hebrew Bible. The covenant there is a promise. What promise? That the Jews will be returned back to the land. What about the old covenant? The old covenant, the Jews broke. What does that mean? They don't have to keep Sabbath anymore? Of course not. It means that they are going to be returned back to the land of Israel. Nothing about. In fact, in Ezekiel 37, 24, 25, the Jews are going to be keeping all the Torah when the Messiah comes. It's like a train wreck.